Tell me what brought about the Pale Tourist and wanting to take on the idea of visiting Canada and Spain and kind of adjusting yourself to fit and excel with those crowds.
Thank you. Well, I would say, the idea came from after I finished taping my last special Quality Time. I did a tour of Asia, and during the process of touring through Asia, I developed, 25 minutes of material specifically about Asia. And the night before the last show, I decided to record it. It wasn't super high quality, but I recorded it, and it inspired this idea that I would do these mini specials about a certain geographic area. I love traveling. I love different cultures. So, in Pale Tourist, it's Canadian American and Spanish American. The expectation was that I was going to do Mexican American, but the pandemic hit. So, but with each of these, it's kind of a crash course in understanding and doing. Sorry,
Okay.
it's kind of each of these is a crash course in a country's culture. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I totally did it for myself, but it'll be interesting to see if if people enjoy it. I mean, I know that I enjoyed it. And, people in Canada and people in Spain definitely enjoyed it. But it's an interesting assignment.
Well, and it's funny too because I've talked to a couple comedians as this pandemic kind of started, and to live in a new world where you don't go somewhere, you don't leave, you don't, to some it's like missing the stage. To others, it's an opportunity to love their family more because they're not around their family all the time like usual as well. And then even to others, they're like, well, I get to enjoy some of the things that I pay for that I never home to enjoy, like somewhere like George Lopez is like, I have a pool. Like I've never been to my pool, or no, or there's some people like that who are like, I get a chance to enjoy it. So what is it for you now with this time? Are you working on something? Is there like a woodworking hobby in the back that you have now that you set off? Like
Well,
what are you doing with
I
this
would
time of
say,
yours?
we were quarantined, or we were, the pandemic started. We were in downtown Manhattan with my five kids, and we eventually rented a house in the suburbs. And I have started a garden. So it's like
Oh,
this is
oh,
this is this is what I'm doing with my time, because I realize that the reason people enjoy gardening is because every day either things grow or die. So at least it's different from the day before, right? And
wow.
that's what we all need during the pandemic. But yeah, I would say I miss, I miss all of it. I miss traveling. I obviously miss performing, but I also miss, what was so great about the Pale Tourist shows, particularly the international ones, is that I was exposed to a different culture, and I also had this assignment of writing these specials. So it was a certain panic. So I like the forced hiatus. I love spending time with my wife and kids, but yeah, no, it's an adjustment.
Yeah. And just to make sure, you are growing stuff other than innuendo emoji vegetables, right?
Yes,
All
yes.
right.
I'm also growing eggplant. No, I'm joking. I'm also growing tomatoes.
Very cool. Um, one thing I would to ask comedians is, when you were finding your style, did you ever like kind of lose yourself and try to emulate other comedians or something, or you just couldn't figure out what your style was when you first started? I mean, you
Oh,
went to New York
absolutely.
around in '90, right? That's around when you started.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there, who are Seinfelding and doing a couple different ways of like delivery. Do you remember, some of those missteps yourself and still kind of laugh before you found yourself?
Oh, yeah. The irony is my first couple times I did stand up. I was essentially what I do now. And then I did feel as though I had to become something else, but that's part of the process of learning and growing as a comedian. So yeah, no, I tried on high energy. I tried on, really angry. Like people don't want to see an angry white guy. You know what I mean? And I used to smoke on stage. It's like it's been many moons
Wow.
and many different versions of Jim Gaffigan. But that
Wow.
was just, that was kind of like the journey. There's a discovery to find your voice, right?
Yeah. Well, let's just be happy that you started around the beginning of the '90s, or else you would have been a magician slash comic as well, right? Because that was the mid '80s. That was the beauty of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely a 90s comic, which is, 90s comics are very much substance. It's about material. It's not a lot of song and dance. It's material.
So talking about these specials, I love the Canada one, but the Spain one was really interesting because that's easily a country that has some people who could have language issues, but they might still go to your show because of loving your stuff, or maybe they've seen some of your movies or some things as well. So is it interesting when you're in that crowd, and how do you kind of gear your stuff to it where they understand you, but also maybe some of the idioms and things you kind of put into, like what was your thought process and how you kind of did that show, I guess.
Well, the for Spanish American or Asian American, which is the YouTube version, kind of the inception of this, it became really apparent that the audience was a lot of expats or people that had studied in the US or people that had, a pretty strong command of the English language. So, but culturally, it was fascinating to see how you would just grab onto these topics. Like in my entire life, I've spent 6 days in Spain, but I, wanted to do this special. So some of it was just a crash course, mostly watching YouTube videos about Spain and about, Spanish culture and history. And some of it is stuff I know, but it's in no ways perfect. It's just mainly kind of finding a cultural nuance because, often, it's, it's easy for us to say, uh, things are different, but like it really holds up a mirror to how insane the American culture is too.
That's very true, and that's the beauty of it too. Is when you get there, you can be, as a comedian, you can almost be on their side. You're like those
Yeah.
guys. I mean, I live there, but those guys, huh? So it's it's probably
Yeah.
an interesting way to kind of find your voice and align yourself with them at those times too.
And you also get a lot of credit for the research and the knowledge you've obtained. So when I was in Canada, some of the knowledge I have that brought me a lot of goodwill. So it's like I could make fun of some of the aspects of Canada, but maybe I earned it because I proved to them that, I at least knew the capital and, knew all the provinces, stuff like that.
Right. Just throw in Tim Hortons ever so often, and then make fun of the French a little bit, and the French language a little bit, and you're good to go on Canada's side. I'm actually in Las Vegas, and we're very sad because we've had to push your show back a couple different times. So I know, in a perfect world, you're still coming here in December. It says online. So, what is it like when you see cities like this, where you come to on a regular basis? And you're thinking, man, I want that light to be on again. I need that spotlight. I need that stage to open too. Like, do you kind of just put it out in the future, like the happy, like Christmas Day is going to come eventually, kind of thing?
Yeah, there's been so many shows that have been pushed and then rescheduled 2 or 3 times now. I have to manage kind of my morale, and also I think it is the endorphin rush of the show, but I also would never want to be contributing to, risking anyone's safety. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where I know that like a place like Vegas, once they're ready to go, they're going to go. And, there's just there's too much of a financial incentive to get that city back going, that they're not going to be like, oh, we could have opened a month ago. Like Vegas is like, can we open now? Because
Yeah.
you say now, we're open.
Yeah. Yeah, we've already figured ways to make buffets work again as well. We'll bring it to you and your table. The Win is doing that right now. So
Yeah.
it's not really the traditional buffet, but we'll call it a buffet and make you happy with hearing those words ring in your ears. So one thing I do have to talk about, because big fan of all this film stuff you've been doing. One of the ones that makes me kind of laugh is this character right here from Most Wanted. This guy is just greasy. Like, this is something where I'm like, if you're someone who has to like get in the mood, like I assume you're like pushing kids into the grass and like stealing candy. I mean, that's what the character feels like to me. So what did it feel like when you started playing this greasy, underhanded kind of guy?
Well, the thing is like obviously the entertainment industry is a perception business, and I'm perceived as this white bread guy. I'm perceived as a nerd, but I was like an athlete in high school and college. But so I'm comfortable with it. But like, yeah, this guy Picker in this movie he's not a great guy, and there's a dark side to him. And I've always said, like going through a stand-up career, dealing with comedy club owners or bookers, or just the entertainment industry, you deal with enough people, and you got to fight for your own rights enough that you're maybe you're not this character, but there's part of you that you have to be pretty resilient. And this guy is a two-timing drug dealer. So
a two-timing drug dealer of all
yes.
people. Who knew? Another
Right.
thing that actually I missed you at Sundance, but I did get a chance to catch Tesla. And this was a very fun movie, very interesting, because I mean, we saw the one with Benedict Cumberbatch, but we didn't get to see a lot of Tesla in that one. I can't remember what the something wars. I can't remember what that one
Yeah,
was.
the current wars.
The Current Wars, correct. But there wasn't enough Tesla in that film, so I was very excited to see this. And I'm also a huge fan of Ethan. I've interviewed him every time I get a chance at Sundance too. But what was it like I guess becoming Westinghouse? And did you learn anything about history about Westinghouse himself?
Yeah, no, Westinghouse. I mean, this is obviously a fascinating time. I mean, what we're doing right now ties back to Tesla. And what's amazing about this story, we've heard rumors that Edison was a little bit of a jerk and all this, but like people were sketchy back then. So Westinghouse, who I portray in this movie, you could characterize him as a, Tesla's benefactor, but he did some stuff that's just downright dirty. There was a clause, Tesla essentially created AC/DC, these alternating currents, and Westinghouse had this contract with him, and essentially Tesla had to tear up his contract to see the country convert to his system. And so Westinghouse, he took advantage of somebody who didn't know the business that well. So Tesla reminds me, you remember when Billy Joel had all that money stolen from him? Tesla was a little bit like that. Like he was this genius, but like didn't know the business side of things. And I'm Westinghouse who takes advantage of Tesla.
Wow, I'm gonna start using the Billy Joel as the Tesla of the music industry. Start to use that analogy. and then when they ask me what, I'm gonna start to just educate them and push them down the road of Tesla too. Well, and that's funny too
Or
because now I'm trying to think about it, and you were talking about people want to have you lovable and be a nice guy. I wonder if they saw you as Westinghouse and go, but he's a nice guy. But even though that as well, like
I,
that kind of pulled from that too.
I think that might have been why I was cast in the role, because there were people that were really evil characters in Tesla's life, but Westinghouse was somebody who was a little bit of um, both sides of it. So he was somebody that was a partner of Tesla, but in hindsight, I think he did wrong by him.
For sure. The one thing I was very interested in is this. Let me see if I can find the image here. This image for. Oh, I don't want that. Yes, I do. This image right here. I got a hold of here. What brought
Yeah.
about this magical, majestical beast right here? What was it about this whole idea? Was this a fever dream? I mean, what is this? What is this poster we see for the pale tourist here? And why? And is it supposed to turn people on, or what's the idea here? I mean, because
No,
there's some abs, there's some
it's
definition.
absolutely supposed to be humorous, but some of it was, I had done a show, and we were at a restaurant, and then there was a table next to us that me and my friends, we ended up talking to, and one of the persons there was this artist who ended up doing the cover and that poster, and she paints exclusively animals. And she said, that's her specialty. And I said, what is the weirdest request you've ever gotten? And she said, well, people occasionally, guys will want to be painted as centaurs. And I thought that was just so funny and weird. And so I pitched her the idea. This, by the way, this is all going down in the pandemic. I was supposed to go and sit down, and I definitely wanted, an idealized version
Right.
of my body. And this, by the way, this guy in the poster is way tanner than me. Like, I kept saying, I'm paler than that. I'm paler than that. And also, huge hands. This guy has huge
Yes,
hands.
and I assume
Um,
huge hooves as well.
yeah, and so but it's totally for humorous effect. The irony is that you'll notice at the bottom that sometimes you can see the shape of some of the horse features on the bottom, but sometimes it gets cut off, so it just looks like I'm simulating holding the globe while I'm naked. So it's inadvertently been kind of like a dangerous image.
Well, I want to thank you very much. And, of course, this is a dangerous image is a good way to kind of go into the pale tourist, of course. Amazon, a great place for you. I want everyone to enjoy Canada, Spain the same way you did. This, of course, is coming up the 24th. So congratulations. And we look forward to having you back in Las Vegas when it's safe, when it's available, and getting you on that stage. But until then, have a great day, and we look forward to your special.
Thanks so much. Great chatting with you.
Pleasure. Have a good day.